let's take a step back. We still have the foundation, a platform of problems. And that's because we give too much power in the beginning. And that starts from just not realizing the value of who we are. The value of who we are is where we have to start. If we continue to look at reality shows and reality celebrities as putting them on a pedestal, we're already at a negative.
Okay, let's go.
Hi, this is Dr. Bryant. Thank you for watching Coaching to Change. I want to say thank you to the people who subscribe, the followers, people who are writing, commenting. I honestly, you don't realize how much I appreciate it, in addition to how much we are helping others. I have a tendency to, take that information, I research it, I digest it, I do what I can so I can be able to get to the source of information, the knowledge, and I share it. I share it because it not only helps others, but it gives me something for me to put in my toolbox. So I want to say thank you. And by listening to Coaching to Change, we're going to continue to make progress one step at a time, one episode at a time. And hopefully the things that I provide you will be just nuggets that will provide you guidance that will give you information, guidance that will improve your lifestyle, guidance that will take you to the next step. That's my job. I'm a developmental coach. I'm a master coach. I'm a master trainer. I train other coaches so they can be able to do what I'm doing. The whole purpose is about sharing the power of knowledge and information so we can be able to grow as people. As a military veteran, the thing is that what I've seen and done, I was a special ops airborne ranger, and I was with the 2nd Ranger Battalion. And the things that I've been able to learn from them specifically is that, you never leave a person behind. I mean, that's one of our most important rules that we live by. Never leave a fallen comrade, never leave a fallen person, soldier. It doesn't matter. I've taken it to the next level. Obviously, these things are written based on combat. But, life in general is a warfare. Life in general is a struggle. And it's not just based on, when you're wearing your fatigues and you're out there carrying a weapon. Everywhere you turn and everywhere you look, it's a battle. We have people who are suffering. We have people who are struggling. We have countries that are trying to limp along with their economy, the politicians who are stealing, the politicians who are hiding. We have people who are trying to step up as leaders. We have the 1%ers who are trying to figure out ways to keep what they have. I mean, and I get it. We have, you want to protect your legacy. You want to protect your family. Everybody has a reason. Everybody will justify it. And that's kind of what this is all about. People as people will continue to justify bad decisions. Whereas when you make a good decision, interesting enough, you don't have to justify it. For instance, when I do a podcast, if I choose to do this instead of playing golf, I don't have to justify it. But if I choose to play golf instead of doing a podcast, I have to justify it because I have to come up with an excuse of why I did not want to take the time to put out information that could help somebody. Playing golf, yes, it helps me. I feel a little better. I might be sore physically, but I feel better. But that's me. That's a selfish thing. Whereas I take the time to do the homework, the research. I was given a gift that allows me to learn understand, interpret quite rapidly. So therefore I apply it based on the tools that I've learned, and then I go out and I share it. And by sharing it, every person who listens to me gains something from that. So that 4 hours of playing golf or applying knowledge and sharing on a podcast, which one has more value? So again, we all have our reasons and our purposes, and I do this because I absolutely care. And this particular episode is probably one of the more meaningful episodes. Now, everything I talk about, I hope to have a purpose. I hope that will help somebody. I hope that will get out there and reach a person so they can learn. They can be able to hear me. They can be able to understand me. And that is exactly why I created Coaching to Change. Because even as a coach, regardless of what capacity of coaching, life coaching, financial coaching, real estate coaching, health, holistic, whatever it is, not everything is so transparent and understanding. Therefore, the coaches continue to coach, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I believe that we can try to deliver information in a way that people will be able to understand. And if you read my book, the one right there, this one here, the white one, if you read my book, it's all about taking power back. I want you to learn and then be able to manage. If you can manage it, the tools that I provide you, or any coach or psychiatrist or psychologist, therapist, whatever title that person wants to carry, if you can somehow take that information and be able to not just apply it, because obviously that's what you're there for. You want to learn, you want to be able to apply it every day to your life. I get that. But what about the hours when you're not side by side with that person? How much do you retain? Now, I've been a professor for many, many years, since 2009, 10, I guess. No, 2009. I think I started. Well, I wasn't a professor. I was an adjutant. But my point is that I've learned that when you read, you study, there's a very small percentage of the knowledge you actually retain. I mean, even as a doctor, we go and you wonder when you sit in a patient's office, when the nurse brings you in, they check your vitals, but the doctor's not in there. Well, what do you think that doctor's doing? No, he's not late or she's not late. No, that's not it at all. They're in the other room. They're in their office pulling your file. They're pulling your records. And they're typing in at the latest MD information. And I don't want to go into specifics because every medical office or organization is different or what they utilize. But my point is, they're checking your history, your medical records. And they're also looking at some possibilities of how they can provide you some what? Exactly. So whatever, outcome it is for you, it's not because that doctor is that brilliant and they can just come up at the top of their head, because chances are they don't remember every single thing they learned in med school. It doesn't happen that way. We cheat. Okay, so I say that only because I'm not banishing my fellow med guys. That's not it at all. Doctors are brilliant people, and it takes a lot to actually achieve this level of, it's not, I don't consider it success, but this level of knowledge. And through the organic approach of it, it's about helping somebody. So I think just from the get-go, any medical practitioner should be given credit for wanting to assist and help somebody. But again, as I said, you don't retain all that information. We have to go and pull up the latest journals and the latest medical information that could help us give you 1, 2, 3, or 4 different options. And where I practice, we have 8, 9, 10, 11 options, but that's a whole nother show. But what is important about this show today is I want to talk about reality. I did a show already, and I talked about depression, I talked about isolation, and in the past, I had previous podcast shows where it was named Dr. Bryant Speaks, and you also know that I had a show called Field Talk. And I was very, very candid on those shows, mainly because I was talking to my fellow veterans, and I talked about suicide. So there's a pattern there. Obviously, these things are very important to me. Now, this particular topic today, reality is not reality, which I believe is going to be the title. You know, it's important for you to understand that there are people out there who actually look at these various versions of reality and think it's real. And I have, through my clients, have come to understand that this is part of the problem. Now, am I going to change anything? Absolutely, probably not, because there's too much money involved and the money goes up. So when it comes to that, as you know, in America, in the USA, our Hollywood market, our celebrities, you know, we've seen it how for years certain producers are getting away with doing things they shouldn't be doing. Celebrities in the music industry are getting away for years what they shouldn't have been doing. And it's actually good that finally, and I believe based on the Me Too movement, we're starting to push the purpose of paying attention. And now we're starting to see a shift where people and those in power are losing that power. And people are starting to speak up and they're not scared anymore. But let's take a step back. We still have the foundation, a platform of problems. And that's because we give too much power in the beginning. And that starts from just not realizing the value of who we are. The value of who we are is where we have to start. If we continue to look at reality shows and reality celebrities as putting them on a pedestal, we're already at a negative. You know, we have to remind ourselves it is not real. Sure, the person on the other side is a real person. The people that we're watching are real. Absolutely. They live somewhere, they have a social security number, and they're doing whatever it is they're doing. But we are only watching a segment of their life. And it is really sad that we have people and individuals in our society that forget that. They become disconnected, and that is a problem. Reality is not reality. You know, we live in this world of virtuality. We live in this world where they say, oh, this is a reality show, you have to watch it. It's not a reality show. I don't know, they came up with this name to say a reality show, but it's not a reality show. It literally, by the nature of the show, is the opposite. We see a moment of time of that person performing. I say performing because there are cameras and producers and writers and everybody around them. A moment of time of that person's life. So how is that a reality when they're playing to the camera? Who goes to the gym? But well, let me take that. I was going to say, who goes to the gym by prepping for 2 hours with makeup and all that? Yeah, there are people who do that. I've gone to the gym, and yes, there are people who will go there like it's a fashion show. But the reality is, the average person does not play or act or demonstrate or perform or do things if that camera is not there. There's a whole different person when the camera is gone. It's not real. And by default, the root word is real when we say reality, and it's nothing that is not that. I took a trip to Apple. Yes, I'm plugging Apple. Normally I don't plug, but I use Apple, so I'm going to say Apple. I took a trip to the Apple store, and I wanted to try out their new goggles. A buddy of mine, a fellow veteran, we were at a golf tournament, and he was telling me about these goggles. They're called Vision Pro. It was on my radar because my dad was telling me about what he has. I think he has another type of virtual goggles. I don't know the name. I think it's like a Microsoft version. So obviously, based on talking to him and listening to him, it was in the back of my mind. So my buddy's telling me about Vision Pro. So I'm at the demo, and they're impressive. They're very impressive. These things are really cool. Now, I say that because, you know, The things you see in the goggles are real. Somebody, went out, took photos, took videos, traveled all over the world. Apple clearly has, people out there that are taking these really immaculate pictures and videos all over, working, collaborating with different, people and all that. And then they turn around and they apply it to this technology where me, the consumer, puts on these goggles and I feel I'm there. I have not been to, I have been to, like, for example, Alaska. So, but this particular part of Alaska I have not visited, but when I get to put on those goggles, I look like I am right there. And then when you switch the option to panoramic and I could do a 360, it is absolutely nothing less than amazing. Yes, Apple, you're welcome. If you want to sponsor me, by all means. But my point is that these things are absolutely amazing, but it's not real. But it is real. Just like that reality TV person. They're a real person. But it's not real because I'm not there. I'm actually at the mall, at the Apple store, sitting down, looking through goggles. So that is exactly, I use that example to kind of explain that is what we are experiencing. It's something that is fake, but is based on real images, real life in some aspects. Can a person be a police officer? Absolutely, a person is a police officer. So when we watch cops on TV, now that could be taped and real, and we can see the real action, a real arrest. Absolutely. But when you watch, say, NYPD, it's based on a real person, based on police officers, is based on justice, procedures, but they're actors and they're going off a script. Now, I will say, and I will, like SVU, Special Victims Unit, I do like the concept that they, as they say, rip the news, out of the newspapers and they try to create a script off of that. I do appreciate that because it kind of gives us some insight on what's happening out there based on real crime. And then they put it on a script and then they act it out. Clearly they change names in various scenarios to protect the innocent. But it is not real. People showcase their best front. Now, let's tie this into my purpose of this entire podcast. My job is to protect you. I am a coach. I'm a developmental health coach. And I choose this field because for me, it is important that we protect our mental health. But it's not based on the present. If you follow me, you know me, I am going back to history. I'm taking it back to a point of when you start to evolve as a person. I take it back to when you start to evolve in making decisions. I take it back to where you start to evolve as life, because this is where the nuggets, these are where the foundation starts, where you start to build decision making, you start to think for yourself, and we tie that into what it is you're trying to achieve and accomplish. And if I have a client who is depressed and I'm trying to understand, why are you depressed so much, or why are you isolating, or why do you have this anxiety, or why are you saying that you cannot achieve your goals? I mean, it's all over the place. And it comes down to because, I see this person and they're doing this and I just can't achieve it. But why are you comparing yourself or think that you can be that person? Why is your goal set to a level that is not even real? Goals that are created and manufactured through the quote unquote reality perspective. And then my client is sitting there saying, no, but it is real. It's a real person. That person, I can look him up on Instagram. I can look them up and they're there and they're showing me this and they're showing me that. And I'm thinking, you do realize that you are taking a person's life and you're only seeing a percentage. And they're only giving you their best front. They're giving you their best side because they're trying to make money. They want you to follow them. They want you to subscribe to them. They want you to watch their TV show. So you're going to see the best. Now, I say that in reality, and based on, the fact is that producers and writers, they actually want action. They want you to see their fights. They want drama. And yes, does exist. And even that is manufactured many of the times. Now, I'm not a writer. I'm not a producer. I'm not some sort of consultant on any TV show. So how do I know this? It doesn't take a genius to realize this, okay? The bottom line is these people were selected for these shows because of an intriguing lifestyle that they may have. But I can assure you that we're still only watching a percentage of who they are. Now, here's another example. I love to give examples. I've been a professor for years and years, and my students will tell you, Dr. Bryant, well, maybe this practice or whatever, or maybe, there's all these different options out there. But regardless of those options, unless you have a wealthy family and you're just an average person like most of us, you're going to have a school loan between $150,000 to probably $250,000 US. Because books are not cheap, tuition is not cheap, and depending on the school that you attend, just makes it that much more expensive. So it's going to take 5 to 10, maybe even 15 years to pay that back. But hey, doctors make a lot of money, right? I mean, you can go my route. And I went and trained in Mexico. But I can't come to these states and practice unless I take the state board. Depending on the medical board, I have to do a lot of hoops to be able to practice here. I have no interest of practicing here for quite a few reasons, and I don't want to get into that. But when I got my degree, it actually did not cost me as much as it would have cost if I did it here in the States. My whole point was only because I just wanted to help people. And I'm going to get into that a little while because that's actually ties in to the story. But again, if you become a plastic surgeon, you go into any specialty, develop any level of expertise, you have a chance to recover quicker because you become in demand and therefore you can charge more. So that plays out in a different way. But if you're just, somebody who went to an average school, graduated in the middle of your class, and you have your degree, you pass the board, you are able to get your license, and then you go work at a general practitioner location, it's going to be tough for you. It's going to be tough, and that's just the reality of it. And hopefully what you're doing by being a medical doctor is a passion. Therefore, you don't want to give up on this because it's something you choose to do. You choose to do it because you care about people, which is exactly why I do it. Those of you who don't know, I go to another country and I provide my services for free on a regular basis. And that's, again, something that I choose to do because of what it does for me. And I'm going to talk about that because, again, it ties into giving us some solutions of getting out of this false reality. Because at the end of the day, when we raise the bar of trying to reach something that's not real, you're never going to reach it. You're never going to reach that bar because it's not real. Depression can be self-endured. And if you're always trying to reach something that's not real, guess what? You're going to find yourself in depression a lot longer. When you try to reach for something that cannot be obtained, you're going to constantly put yourself in a situation that you can never get out. I want you to think about that for a second. That's why we have to check who we are and understand the reality of life. And reality TV is not the way to go. People who are betrayed on reality TV, people who are actors and celebrities and just looking at your neighbor. It's not just reality and virtuality, and it's the perception. You have to get away from perceiving that things are what you assume they are. And you guys know, you've heard, since I was a kid, we heard about what assume means. Okay, so we have to realize that, and we have to start creating our own goals. If you create your own goals, then you know what's real. But how do we figure out what the goal is? Okay, that's a great question. But we have to, first of all, make sure that that goal is real. I talked about this in another podcast where I mentioned that if you want to be a center for the Lakers and you're only 5'2", it's not going to happen. So let's make sure that it's real. And more important, let's make sure that it's something that you can actually feel that you can enjoy or appreciate, or most importantly, have a purpose. All right, so I'm going to share with you my own story. I worked in technology for years and years. Thanks to my father, when he brought home the first, the VIC-20 and Apple IIc computers. He was in computer programming school years ago, and he taught me BASIC. And those of you, if anybody who's in tech, you're going to go, whoa, he knew BASIC. Yeah, I knew BASIC. And we would experiment and play with, try to design games. I wasn't that good at it. I was okay. But it exposed me to technology. And then when I graduated from school, after I left the military, I got into IT at some point. There was a shift in my working career and got into technology. But I needed to continue my education, and I eventually, so I can compete, because at this point in time, technology is starting to grow rampant. We're starting to evolve, and we're starting to see it more and more in the workplace, in the government, etc. But then it also opened the doors where the Middle East was starting to come in with their consultants, and they were working in this field, and I'll be very honest, they were dominating. From what I understand, they're learning technology in grade school, where we were basically getting degrees. We weren't exposed to it until we were in college. Or you're trying to go to some sort of tech school like my father did. I think it was ITT or IT Tech or whatever. He went to school and tried to learn programming, and then you go from there, and then you learn Pascal, and you learn COBOL, and then you continue to evolve, and then you start learning life cycles, SDLC, software development life cycle, agile, and it just continues and continues. It's just a never-ending cycle, because technology is just always evolving. Now we're in AI world. So for me, at that time, I figured, wow, if I'm going to compete, I need to continue my education. So I got my MBA, an executive MBA, and I was going off of the advice of my father. He's always told me, if you don't really know, major in business. And that's really good advice. I'm not taking that away from him. So having an executive MBA is always a foundation of anything that you're going to do. So I did that, but it wasn't for the right reason. I got it because I just wanted to make more money. And then from there, I still felt that I wasn't competing. And this is in addition to all the other stuff I was doing. I mean, I got my Six Sigma Black Belt, my PMP, Agile, Business and Analyst certification. I mean, I was going on and on and on trying to compete. And so finally I was like, you know what? I'm going to get my PhD. So even though I was teaching within the MBA, I only could teach undergrad. I went after my PhD because the school I was teaching at, it wouldn't cost me anything. It would just cost me my books. So why not? Again, wrong reason. I was going after my PhD because I wanted to make more money. So here I am spinning and spinning and spinning, not spending with a D, but spinning in my head and life, all trying to figure things out, trying to do something with the false impression that thinking that my reality was to make more money. That was my reality, and it wasn't real. I was under the impression to think that if I continue to get, these degrees, but I was pursuing these degrees because I was pursuing money. I remember this in my marriage at the time. I was so proud when I had my business. I was, doing very well, filing taxes in the six figures. We were doing well. I mean, we were able to get a house, and I got my ex-wife a Mercedes. I forgot what it was, but the nice one. And then I got a BMW 5 Series. I mean, everything was looking great, but it wasn't great. Again, false reality. On the surface, it looks like we were just this power couple, looking good, great kids, but we were, honestly, I look back now, and everything was built on something that just was not going to last. But that's another story. So these things are, the foundations is not stable. So do you think it's going to actually last? So if you're trying to reach something that you think is real and it's not real, if you don't have proper awareness, if you don't believe, if you're not passionate about it, it's not going to last. So it was a point in time in my life where I was near a breakdown, and I decided, based on a vacation I took and how I felt when I took that vacation, and I said, wow, something felt different. So then I started doing research, and then I started realizing things. It was tied to my military. If you read my very first book, my second book as well, you'll know that you'll get the answers of what I'm talking about. But it was that trip that allowed me to realize and understand that something is there. So fast forward. So in 2020, I went through this self-fulfillment process and this healing process that absolutely changed my life. So I ended up getting my medical degree. That was self-fulfillment with a purpose. I ended up becoming a master coach and trainer. That was for a purpose. Now I'm currently getting my psychology degree. Again, a purpose on steroids. And I'm also a published writer, and I'm going to continue to write, all for a purpose, not for my purpose. It does help me, and I do have something that I get back from it. It is self-fulfilling, but this time my plans have a purpose. So it's not about success. It's not about what I'm going to achieve. It's not about what I'm going to accomplish. And it's definitely not about the money. In fact, I lose more money than I gain based on everything that I give out and the things that I actually contribute. But the purpose is so powerful that it makes it worth it. It makes it worth it. And I can't stress that enough, that you have to understand that if you're going to do something, have a purpose behind it. Stop trying to reach false goals that you have no idea about, and try to find something that has a purpose that's going to fulfill you. Stop competing with reality stars who only show their best side. You don't know their life. You have no idea of how much taxes they're paying or how much they're getting paid by the network. You have no idea of the demand and the expectation. They have to have new outfits all the time. Well, how much of the outfits cost? They might not be, the Tom Cruise and the Nicole Kidmans, or I shouldn't say their names together since they're exes, but my point is, these people are given clothing. When Taraji P. Henson does the BET Awards that she just did here in 2024, I'm pretty sure she didn't pay for those dresses that she wore. So you're not at that level. So trying to impress for something that you're not is not going to do you any good. Focus on people who are transparent. Focus on a path you can see and a path that you can actually accomplish. I'm going to share a little secret with you. I have my people that I actually like and people that I watch from afar, and I watch them very carefully, because if I'm going to mention them, especially here, and put it out publicly, they hopefully will always be somebody of credibility. This particular person, his name is Ryan Serhant. He has a business in New York. It's called Serhant. If anybody is a fan of, I think it's called million dollar listing New York. You know Ryan, him and his like these other individuals, and they were selling real estate in New York. Well, Ryan now has his own show. It's on Netflix series. It's called Selling Manhattan. I'm not plugging Netflix. I'm not plugging Ryan, but I do admire this individual. And guess what? He's a reality star. But why I just spent the last 40 minutes telling you about reality stars, and here Dr. Bryant's actually saying he actually watches a reality star. Well, I do, but again, there's within a perspective. For one, when I used to watch Million Dollar Listing, I was learning something. I was learning communication. I was learning sales. I was learning real estate. And I've always been intrigued with New York. I don't really care for the city. I've been there a couple of times. Not my type of city, but it's pretty a cool city. It's a pretty cool city to visit. The dynamics, the culture, the things about it. Hey, but I'm a West Coast guy. Sorry. But the thing is, this individual has demonstrated something I admire. This person, not only did he's only been in real estate about 12 years. 12 years. Think about that. If you know real estate, and if you know a lot of people who are out there who are working as brokers, people who are working in this business, for 12 years is nothing. And yet he has built $1 billion business. And I say that with a B, as in Bryant. He started off working for another brokerage company, but he busted his butt. He obviously was a top seller because they put him on the show. Remember, these producers go around and they're asking people, hey, who's your top seller? Hey, who's your top seller? I'm sure the producers of the show probably had 30, 40 real estate people in their short list. And then they went through and checked their background, looked at their profile. Yes, they want somebody that's fairly good looking, because you don't want somebody, that's how people are. They gravitate to attractiveness. So they want somebody who's fairly good looking. And Ryan was a model at one point, an actor. So he fit the profile. I mean, he had all the right things. But don't take away that he wasn't good at what he did. And what he did was he took a chance and he broke away from this particular brokerage company and started his own. So I say that meaning, what can you learn from that? If I'm going to choose a reality star, I want to choose somebody who actually has produced and demonstrated something I can learn from. That's courage. In his very first episode, he talks about that on Selling Manhattan. He talks about what it took and all the naysayers who told him he couldn't do it. But I remember on the last episode from the other series, when he started exploring the idea of doing this, you could tell he was really nervous. But I mean, he wasn't stupid. He did the same thing I did when I started my own business and I left the stability of the public sector. He already had something in his back pocket pending. So that way he had a sort of a, kick in the butt as he opened his own business. He had an agreement with that developer that allowed him to have that under his umbrella. And I did the same thing when I had a contract. When I left the public sector, I had something in my back pocket. So you're not walking blindly into a dark closet. You absolutely have a, I was going to say pistol. I hate the little kids listening. But my point is, you come prepared. So choose your reality stars wisely. But I'm not saying this because, Dr. Bryant is gonna be some real estate mogul or whatever. No, that's not my choice. That's not what I'm going to do. In fact, I've always did not like selling. I've never. My father told me I should have gone into sales. I remember him mentioning that when I was younger. I have a gift of gab, but I don't like sales. I don't like commission. I just don't. And yet, in a lot of parts of my life, I ended up in roles that had commission, and I did very well at it. It's just not my thing. Contracting and all that, I never really, even though I was good at it, good at writing RFPs, IFPs, and all that stuff, I just don't like it. So I'm not choosing that role, but it works for, Sirhan. Ryan Sirhan does a great job at it. And by watching him getting to see the tools that he applies makes things, even though he's a reality celebrity, makes things a little more realistic. So, find your passion. Passion is not always the case of, oh, that's what I want to do, I'm going to do it, because sometimes it doesn't choose you. So you got to figure out what actually works for you. This particular, people say, oh, it's going to be that. No, you have to try to strategize and figure out something that works and applies to you, something that's realistic, but mostly gives you purpose. Now, for me, my whole purpose is simple. 2 words: helping others. That's it. I figured it out. I like to do things that help others. I've been volunteering for decades, and it's always been something that I've done. And yet, I didn't even notice that how much I enjoy doing it. I enjoy helping others. It's that simple. So I get what helps me, because at the end of the day, I help myself. I'm my own life coach. I'm my own best friend. I'm my own psychologist. I'm my own doctor. That's me. I take all of that I know and I provide the information, I do the research, and I give those lessons to others. I told my kids, and you guys heard me say this before, I make mistakes so you don't have to. Well, it's not that far-fetched for me being a developmental health coach. Everything I've been through is so I can help others. I take all that experience, I take the additional knowledge, and I put it together so I can help others. And I'm going to leave you with this. I told this lesson to my son, because there are those of you out there who probably think, oh, I can't reach that goal, or I don't have enough time, or I'm too old, or whatever. And I want you to understand something. There is nothing that's within reach that's going to take that much time. Nothing. You have this much time to achieve your goal, but the rest of your life is a lot longer. So if you just, get on it, you'll be amazed at how fast you can achieve it. And don't watch the clock. I used to tell my students that in my classes. Stop looking at the clock, especially when I taught undergrad. They're just starting out and they're getting their bachelor's degree, and they look at their, curriculum, and they see that they have this, they have another 20 something classes, and they're looking at how long it's going to take, and they're like, I'm never going to get my degree. You'd be amazed at how fast it goes. You'd be surprised. Stop watching the clock. Get on it. I'm currently in, a psychology doctorate program right now. I'm not watching the clock. I'm taking every class as it comes and learning as much as I can, applying it to my research, applying it to my writing, and I just keep going. Stay busy, stay focused. I'm on my way to do another medical rotation. I'm going to help some people. That's my purpose, helping others. I'm going to continue to do that. Then I'm going to take a vacation and do some more exploration, self-fulfilling exploration, so I can recharge. I can learn something new. I'm continuously doing the things that's necessary to keep me focused, keep me grounded, keep me healthy mentally as well. And I say this lightly, but there's a spirituality behind it. So, if you have any questions, let me know. My name is Dr. Bryant. You are watching Coaching to Change. I am your master coach as well as trainer. I am always available to you. Reach me on any of my social media platforms. I want to thank those of you who are already on it. I appreciate it. Until the next time. And remember, somebody is always listening. It's not always me, but somebody is definitely listening. So please keep that in mind when you're having some problems. My name is Dr. Bryant. I'll talk to you soon.